Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. I really hope you're all well. As you can notice, the backdrop has changed again. I'm actually filming from my mum's room today just because honestly the light in here is so much better than in my room, and yeah, it bothered me in my last video, so I just figured while I have the opportunity to, I would film in here and we can take advantage of the better light. So I hope you guys prefer it. Today I'm coming at you with my April TBR video. It's a lot less excessively unhinged than my March TBR, which was just completely out of control. And did I manage to read all the books on it? No, I did not. Is anybody surprised? No. Not really. So yeah, this month I've tried to rein it in a little bit. I'm desperately trying to clear out my physical TBR though, which is just out of control. There's over 100 books on my physical TBR pile now, and I'm just very aware that I need to start reading these books quicker than I'm buying them. So yeah, this is what we're doing. So this is why I'm setting these crazy TBRs, and I'm just trying to get through as many books as possible per month. So yeah, without any further kind of rambling, I'm just gonna get straight on into it. So the first book I want to talk to you guys about is Kings of Quarantine by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti. That's the author duo that have written the Zodiac Academy books, if you think they sound familiar. And this book basically is the first in a series, and it's like a bully style romance set at a prep school, an elite prep school, I think, in the US. But basically it's one girl and a group of guys, and they all end up getting locked down together at this boarding school because of a virus. Now it's not COVID, but I think obviously it's going to be based upon the COVID pandemic and the lockdowns that we all went through over the last couple of years. And it says here that the boys are, they call themselves the Night Keepers, and they've embodied the Native American legend which lives in the valley, and they take on the role of the monsters who lurk in the forests. So I guess there's like a supernatural element to it as well. I'm really stoked. This is apparently quite smutty and quite like dark, which I think if you guys know my reading taste at this point, you will know that I love a dark romance. So I'm very excited to delve in and learn a little bit more about what this is about. And I do quite like a bully romance. I have discovered that over the last year or so. So this is giving me the Elite Kings Club vibes by Amo Jones, but yeah, I'm just really hoping this is better written than that, because that is my one bugbear with that series, is that the plot is brilliant but the execution is just not there. So I'm hoping perhaps this has both plot and execution. And I mean, judging on how popular their Zodiac Academy series is, I feel fairly confident in saying that I think this will be quite good. So yeah, I really want to get to that this month. I know that's been on my TBR a few times recently, so yeah, hopefully this is the month I actually manage to get to it. Then we also have The Atlas Six by Olivia Blake. Now, I don't know which version I'm going to read. I think I'll probably go with the self-published, just because it has the artwork and stuff in it, and I kind of feel like I could get away with annotating this because I don't want to annotate the Waterstones special edition. So yeah, I think I'll probably read and annotate this version. But this is essentially follows like 6 magicians who are, I think, competing to become guardians of the Library of Alexandria. But only one of them will survive and be able to take on that role. So I think this is going to obviously be the beginning. I'm guessing like the start of their training or something. I know the second book comes out a little bit later this year. I have that on order already, even though I've not read the first one because book addict problems. So I'm wondering if this perhaps is like the first of the trials or something, and then I think, yeah, I mean, I don't know because I've not read the first one, like where it's going to go obviously. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. Obviously it's got a lot of hype recently, a lot of people love this book, so yeah, I'm really stoked. I don't know too much about it. This is terrible, but yeah, I am excited to read it, and I'm looking forward to kind of giving you guys my thoughts when I have read it, and to finally be able to speak about it with any degree of like eloquence and knowledge, because I realise that every time I've spoken about it, I haven't really known a huge amount about what it's about. Only it's academicians, I think that's how you pronounce it, competing to become a keeper of the Lost Library of Alexandria. So yeah, Then we have a book that you will have seen on my recent USA book haul, which I will leave in the cards and also in the down bar if you've not watched it yet, but that is The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling. And this is about Jane Lawrence, or as she is known, Jane Shoringfield, who realizes that in order to get to where she wants in life and in order to be able to continue keeping her independent, she is going to actually have to get married. So she proposes marriage to a doctor that she knows, and he agrees to her proposal on the one condition that she never visits his family home on the outskirts of town. And then one night she gets caught in a storm and she has to seek shelter there, and she finds her husband, only he is completely unrecognizable from the man that she married. So I don't know if this is supposed to be like a haunted house situation. I don't know if perhaps it's going to be kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde type situation. I'm not sure. It's also, I think, like the needle and thread and hands is giving me Frankenstein vibes. So yeah, I'm not sure at all what it's going to be like, but all I know is that the some of the blurbs say you don't read this one alone at night. So I'm quite excited because, as I said in my recent haul, I really just want to be scared by a book. I want that, oh my god, I'm so freaked out, I cannot sleep kind of vibe, and I'm hoping this is the book to give me that. So we shall see. But yeah, I'm really excited for this one and I'm obsessed with the cover. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Then we have V.E. Schwab's Gallant. So this is the US hardback version. I do actually also have the UK edition, the Waterstones edition, because I honestly could not help myself, and I think I actually prefer the UK edition. Maybe I might do a short little video or something comparing the two. But this book follows the story of Olivia, who is, I think, away at boarding school, and her mum passes away, and all of a sudden she receives this letter kind of summoning her to Gallant, which is one of her family members' houses. Only when she gets there, nobody really knows why she's arrived, nobody knows who sent that letter, and she has to kind of unravel why Gallant was the one place that her mum didn't want her to visit. I think there's also some kind of like weird things going on with the actual house as well. Like if you leave the grounds of the house, there's like some kind of magic or something that makes it quite dangerous, which kind of gives me a darker shade of magic vibes. And I'm guessing from the cover maybe there's some kind of like parallel universe, some kind of like upside down type situation like in Stranger Things. So yeah, again, I'm really excited to read it. I'm not sure which edition I'm going to read, whether I'm going to read this version or if I'm going to read the UK special edition. But yeah, very excited, very much looking forward to it. I do love a bit of V.E. Schwab, so then we have The Lonely City by Olivia Laing. This is actually a work of non-fiction. It's kind of a memoir, and it talks about Olivia's time in New York in her early 30s. So she moves to New York, I think, or is that her mid-30s? Mid-30s, sorry. So she moved to New York on her own, and it's all about her kind of finding her place and navigating this strange new city on her own and dealing with the subsequent loneliness and just generally kind of like building a home again at this point in your life. And I'm excited to read this for several reasons. So firstly, because I am now 30, so I feel like I'm going to perhaps identify with this in some ways. There's another reason why, which I actually really can't talk about at this point, and I realise I've been vague about something on this channel quite a few times recently. I will talk to you guys about it as soon as I can. It's very exciting, but it has to be on the down low for the time being. So yeah, and also I'm actually reading this for university, so one of my final modules kind of deals with themes of home and finding home, so I thought this would be a good piece of reading as research for my final assessment. So yeah, I'm excited to read this. This one I am going to have to annotate and read quite closely because, like I say, it's going to be part of my studies for university, which is exciting. But yeah, I think I'm going to get a lot from this, and I think I'm going to identify with this book in quite a few ways. So yeah, I'm excited to see what it's going to teach me, and yeah, I think it's just going to be very interesting, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Next up, we have One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So she is one of my favourite authors of all time, and I'm really stoked to read this one. I think this was actually on my February TBR as well, so I will keep the synopsis pretty brief. But basically, this woman, Emma, her husband goes away on a work trip one day, and his helicopter mysteriously disappears, and nobody knows if he is dead or alive. So she kind of goes through the mourning process when he never comes home, and then eventually she moves on, she finds love with somebody else, they get engaged, and all of a sudden her husband turns up on her doorstep. And it's going to be a really interesting conversation, I think, about kind of the concept of one true love, one soulmate. Is there just one person for everybody out there, or can you actually have more than one kind of like ideal partner? which I find that concept fascinating. I don't know kind of which camp I sit in, whether I am team the one or team more than one. Not more than one at once, but just, you know, I mean, sure, if that's what you're into, there's no judgment here. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this. I haven't read a Taylor Jenkins read in a while, and she is, like I say, one of my favorite authors. So yeah, very much looking forward to delving in and seeing if this one is as emotional and moving as her other books have been for me. Then we have The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren, and this is about a girl called Jess who is a bit of a numbers whiz, a bit of a science whiz, and so she joins a dating site which attempts to match you based upon your DNA to your most compatible match. And little does she know, she ends up being matched with the founder of the app, basically. And I think he's supposed to be a bit of an asshole. Yeah, it says the man is 100% not her soulmate. Yet as the pair are dragged from one event to the next as the ultimate diamond pairing, Jess begins to realise there might be more to the scientist and to the science behind a soulmate than she thought. I love Christina Lauren. I've loved Christina Lauren for a long time, so I know 100% I'm going to enjoy anything they write. So yeah, I'm stoked just to give this one a read. I think it's going to be kind of like a nice, feel-good, quick read, little rom-com, and I'm very in the mood for that this month, like incredibly so, because I read a few kind of slower books in March, and yeah, I'm looking for some like fast-paced, fun reads this month. Which leads me on to actually my current read, which I'm going to talk to you guys about next, which is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I have been wanting to read this for ages, and it's been on my TBR for ages, and I've just been waiting for the perfect time. I don't know why I do that. Like, I really don't know why I do that. But this is a Schitt's Creek inspired novel following two sisters, Piper and Hannah, who move to the tiny little seaside town that their dad lived in. And basically they're moving because Piper's a little bit out of control. She throws this crazy rooftop party in LA, gets into a ton of trouble, and her stepdad's kind of like, you know what, I've had enough. You're super privileged, you're super spoiled, and you need to just go and kind of like learn a few like real life lessons. So she gets shipped off to this town, her sister goes with her, and I guess it's supposed to be kind of like a finding herself kind of journey where she's standing on her own 2 feet for the first time, and she's having to, you know, make her own way in a town that is so different from anything that she has been used to before. Obviously she meets a man along the way. This is Brendan Taggart, and I think this is kind of like a grumpy sunshine trope, because so far what we've seen from him, he's pretty grumpy and Piper's pretty fun. So yeah, this is supposed to be super steamy, and I'm really excited to get to those bits, I'm not gonna lie to you. But so far the vibes are immaculate. I'm really enjoying it, and it's very much just kind of like the light-hearted kind of rom-com-y read that I really needed this month. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. Also, the second book in the series, it's like a companion duology, I guess. One book for Piper and one book for her sister. The second one, Hook, Line and Sinker, has actually just come out as well. So I think once I finish this, if I like it, I may pick that up too. And maybe I can read that next month and then compare the two. Or maybe even do a whole video reviewing the two a little bit more in depth. But yeah, I'm enjoying this so far. And yeah, like I say, the vibes are immaculate. So if you haven't picked this one up yet, and especially if you like Alexis Rose, definitely pick this one up, because you're going to enjoy it. This next book I have had on, I don't even know how many TBRs at this point, and I still haven't read it, and I'm really mad at myself. So this month is the month. I think I'm actually going to read it next, just to like prove to myself that I have read it. And that is City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. I'm really excited to read this as well, so I don't know why, I just don't get around to it every single time. And this follows the story of Vivian, who leaves her family home to go make a life herself in New York. She goes to study at Vassar, but she actually doesn't make it into her sophomore year. So instead of returning home with her tail between her legs, she actually gets a job as a seamstress at a Playhouse, and ends up kind of like embroiled in 1940s New York kind of Showtime Broadway scene. And this is supposed to be really, really, really good, and I think it's just a discussion on femininity. It brings obviously like that wartime vibe into it, and everyone says this is incredible. So I'm really stoked to actually get around to reading it, and I am determined to actually end up reading it this month, because like I say, everyone says it's brilliant, so I don't know why I keep just not getting around to it. Next up we have The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. This one has been lent to me by my friend Holly, and I've had it on my TBR for way too long, so I'm determined to read it this month and be able to give it back to her. But basically the Thorn of Camor is supposedly this like fabled like master swordsman who steals from the rich, sorry, to give to the poor. And Locke Lamora is actually that fabled swordsman, much to his disgust, but he doesn't actually steal from the rich and give to the poor. He steals for the rich and keeps it for himself and his like a gang of thieves. So he's kind of like a bit of an anti-hero, I guess, in that respect. But then there seems to be like a string of murders, and there's like a clandestine war threatening to tear apart like the underworld of the city that he's in, and all of a sudden he's kind of brought right into the forefront of it all to try and, I think, I guess, save his friends and save his city. So my friend loves this, and I tend to love everything that she loves, so I'm sure I'm going to really enjoy it. And I know she has like the next 3 or 4 in the series as well, so yeah, I'm sure as soon as I read this we'll be right on to the next one. Then we have The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. This is my first Mariana Zapata. This has been on my TBR pile for quite some time, but I keep putting it off because it is a slow burn, and I just haven't really been in the mood for a slow burn romance. I wanted, you know, that kind of like, not insta love, but I want a little something, you know. But this follows Vanessa, and she is PA and assistant to a guy in the NFO. Yeah, an NFO football player, Aiden Graves, and he basically treats her like crap. So one day she's like, you know what, I'm done with your shit, and she walks out and she leaves him, and that's it. And as she's moving on with her life, one day Aiden turns up on her doorstep and begs her to come back, and I think there is obviously going to end up being some kind of like romance between the two of them. I'm guessing quite a reluctant romance. I think that's probably where the slow burn comes in, because again, I think it might be a little bit of like a grumpy sunshine, maybe even enemies to lovers, we shall see. But everyone says this is a really good one, and I'm determined to read a few more of Mariana Zapata's books this year, so I thought this would be a good one to start with. I then also have From Look Off With Love on my Kindle to read from her, and I really want to get All Roads Lead Here as well. So next we have Law by Alexandra Bracken, and this is like a Greek mythology retelling, I think, set in modern day Manhattan. And basically every 7 years there is the Aegon, which is like a murderous game that Zeus sets where the gods become mortal. And basically they are forced to walk the earth and savagely hunted by the descendants of ancient bloodlines who are eager to kill a god and seize their divine power and immortality. So Law's family were brutally murdered. She's turned her back on the promises of eternal glory, and she's basically survived and not really ever wanted to gain revenge until now. So I'm guessing this is her exacting her revenge on the gods for murdering her family and for this terrible game that is played in her city. So I'm quite excited to read this. Again, this has been on my TBR for so long now. This is one of those that I was like crazy excited for and then just never got around to, and it's just kind of like I keep forgetting about it. So this is the month, like it's happening. So yeah, that is my ridiculous TBR. I think it's something like 12 books. I think I'll probably get around to between 8 and 10 of them. Tends to be kind of the amount that I'm reading per month at the moment. So yeah, I'm excited though. I think it will be a fun time. There's definitely a good mix of books in there, and I think some of them are going to be pretty fast paced. Like I think Gallant is AYA, so that's going to be quite fast paced. I think the romance books will be quite fast paced as well. So yeah, I'm stoked. But anyway, you guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.